Wonderful. Thank you very much and welcome everyone. Thank you for jumping on today. I appreciate any chance I get to talk to the powers that be that do all of the wonderful work every day. I did used to be on the other side of the desk, but I've gone to the dark side, as they say, the technology side, and not processing work anymore. But I'll do a bit of an introduction to who I am before we kick off there and away we go. So just a few slides, just a quick intro, and we'll get underway from there straight into demonstration. But as mentioned, AccountKit is a platform that I've been working for well, just over 2 years now, actually, past the 2-year anniversary. But previous to that, in the wonderful world of accounting, I was in practice for just on 10 years, and it's actually going on 19 years now. I probably needed to update that little blurb there as well, too, in the industry, working in practice or doing anything from bookkeeping, accounting firms, financial planning firms, things like that. Really just here as a sounding board for what works best in your business. All of the work I've done previously is really about if it fits the bill, we want you to have it. And our founder, Paul Murray, is very much a rising tide floats all boats. And as part of that, we always ensure that as AccountKit evolves, we want it to bring along every other tool that you might have and you use every single day and integrate it into AccountKit to get great utilization out of it as well too. So what is AccountKit? AccountKit is really a super integrator and allows you to run your business from a central point without having to log into 20 different systems, which is something that we spend a lot of time doing, which I don't think gets very well accounted for nowadays, in terms of 2FAs, logins, that sort of thing. We want you to be able to utilize that data at a central point, which is why AccountKit came to fruition. And then using that data, we want to automate things like our intercompany movements or our structure diagrams that we might be doing for clients and things like that. So the initial integration, we worked with Xero to bring in a full ledger sync for Xero Blue and a full XPM or Xero Tax sync. If you don't have XPM and just Xero Tax, you can bring that in here. That doesn't mean you can't use AccountKit as a standalone. You do not need to have Xero to use AccountKit. It can just be used as a CRM platform for all of your needs around prospect management, workflow management, documents, all that sort of stuff, without Xero involved in the party at all.
Just to quickly interrupt there, sorry, it doesn't integrate with other accounting software though instead. So if it's Xero or standalone completely, not My or QBO, just as a clarifier.
That's right. But a good point to note on that is QuickBooks is on the way. So we've actually built about 90% of the integrations there for the QuickBooks online integration. So stay tuned for that one to pop in as well. But part of that process was really around driving integrations from all of your other tools to make life easy for you. We figured we've done it once, let's go ahead and do it for everything else you might log into day to day. And that can be everything from CAS 360 through to Slack, Google, Microsoft. We are one of the only providers that integrates Gmail into AccountKit and allows you to track all of your email, correspondence, documents, phone messages, all that sort of stuff within the one place. And then we thought, all right, let's do the rest as well. So we'll bring in documents. We'll go SharePoint and OneDrive. If you're using Suite Files, Dropbox, there's a whole bunch that aren't here, like Nimbus. We also integrate with as well too. And then all of your e-signing integrated through the platform then. And then we enhance those tools by bringing in things like PDF editing, allowing you to do document compilation and send outs through the system, and full audit trails for anything that you interact with any of these tools as well. So you know what's synchronized in and what staff may have changed or you may have changed late at night when we're all up at midnight doing things rather than sleeping, which I know that is definitely the case in the industry there as well. Now, the most important part is let's actually see it in action. And AccountKit is one of those tools best shown up front. And the first place we always jump into, even though we try and avoid it at all costs, is our emails when we first sit down at our desk. We try and get out of the email world as much as we can, but the beauty of AccountKit is we want to be able to bring all of those integrations into this platform here. And I'm just going to move the camera out of the way there so that you can then start with your emails with your coffee in the morning and then start to save all of these elements down to the work that you do. in the system. So I've got this email here that's come in from Michael Taylor, very creative with my names there. Over on the right-hand side, it's picking up my default information based on the email that's come through. So Michael Taylor Engineering. It's then asking me, how would I like to save this data down to my system? Now, the beauty of this is we don't care what tool you're using in terms of document management. We basically just say, hey, where do you want to save it? And we'll pick it apart and also spread the attachments across wherever you'd like to save them as well too. So you don't have to go into your document management system, double click on every email to find where those attachments were. I can just go select all, and I'm going to save down copies of the attachment and a copy of the email straight into SharePoint, straight into FYI, whatever it is that I might be using, Google Drive as well too. What I can also do here is I can save it as a single record. So I want it as a continuous email thread when I save this down, or I want to save it as a separate record if you just want that standalone email as its own chunk in your directory there as well too. We have all of our custom fields pulling in, so we can do things like ATO, maybe this is audit related, maybe it's a new client that's come on board. And I can actually see here, Matt, or Michael, who's reached out, has mentioned that we want to do the work for Veronica this year as well too. So I am going to give it the new client tag there for the job that comes in. Now I have teams internally, so I can go ahead and I can select to notify the admin team that this one's come in. I can also send an email off to a team member, which I always tend to pick on Ben in here as my drop-in. Michelle knows Ben really well. He's lovely as well too. Also an ex-accountant who works for us. And down the bottom here, all of my workflow and jobs that I've got set up inside AccountKit then flow in here and show you the ones that are associated to this particular client. Now, if I want to add a new job in from scratch, that's perfectly fine. I can just add a brand new task. I can go ahead and grab from one of my templates, and this allows you to then go in and go, all right, I've set up some workflow templates that I've got as baselines for every single payroll job is done a particular way in the business. I'd like to drop in that payroll processing step. In this case, I've actually got a client onboarding checklist because I've got Veronica that I want to onboard. So I'm going to select that one. I'm going to select which staff member I want to do it. So we'll pick on Ben as well too and create that work there. And you'll see now that my email is linked directly to the workflow in the system. I can then also grab my existing one. So I want it to be related to the December BAS, which is what these attachments are associated to, and maybe the payroll work that I'm doing in the system. Then finally, I also just want to let Julia know in my business that we need to give them a call by the end of the week just to confirm some details. So Julia, please call Michael. We'll call him Mike for short. Give it a priority, and we might say it's a high. Assign it to the person you want to do it to in your team, and then set a due date for that. And that appears on their workflow list inside their work as well, just as a drop-in reminder to say, hey, give them a buzz when you get a chance. We create that in the system, and now this record will then attach to each one of these items straight into my workflow inside AccountKit. If I want to save this data down to a different location, I can move across to my file section here, allowing me to then select, actually it's meant to go into 2026 BAS, which is where I predominantly want to save all of this data down. And as you can see down here, I've actually got Google Drive and FYI connected as well as SharePoint. So you can move between any of the Dropbox or your different tools that you might be using for a client portal versus documents down the bottom there. Then once I come back here, you'll see there that it's changed where that directory is going to save to. I'm going to click assign here. And one thing I've noted too is quite often I'll get an email in and I go, actually, there's something I want to do for this client. I need to go and check their Xero file. So I move across to their people tab up the top here. I jump down to their integrations. And what do you know, all of my integrations are available to launch directly from my email that I've received from the client. So click on the Xero file, go straight into Xero, and go straight into XPM if I'm using XPM. And I've got CAS for my companies as well too, so I can jump straight into CAS as I need to as well. If you've got an electronic phone system, you can make phone calls directly from here through your browser as well. The idea being though, as that first diagram showed in the presentation, is AccountKit is the central piece to everything, and all of the wonderful tools that you use every day and love to use then connect in and make life easy for you. So what does that look like when we come across to AccountKit? Now, anywhere that you see this little square and arrow means we can jump straight to that record in AccountKit. So we don't even need to go and search for it. But I think it's worthwhile you seeing what it looks like when you land on the dashboard inside AccountKit and first log in. So this is our dashboard screen. This is customizable to choose what you would like to see and not see. So down the right-hand side, if I'm not doing ATO lodgement statistics, I can switch it off. If I don't need to see birthdays for the team, but I want to see birthdays for clients, I can switch it on or off there as well. And you pick and choose what widgets you'd like to see and what you'd like at the top. So quite often, I like the task planner right at the top on my list there, so I can action it. And I don't actually need office stats or top actions. I just want my task planner straight in the forefront there of the work that I do. And I'll come back to the task planner and what that is in a little bit. But just to give you an idea, as each of these widgets then appear down the screen so I can see things at a glance like what's out for e-signing and what needs to come back, who has signed, who hasn't, any of my corporate compliance matters that I might be tracking, my financials. If I connect up my own Xero file, I can see through the dashboard inside AccountKit. And then I can also set up my own custom dashboards for those, so I can be quickly jump to my lodgement statistics or my e-signing dashboard without having to scroll through the noise that's in there. Over on the left-hand side, we have our home button, which takes you back to our all screen or our dashboard here. We have the three little people here, which takes us through to our clients page, and we'll talk more about that very shortly. Our documents icon, which will launch us straight into our documents folder for whatever DMS system we might be using. In this case, I've got SharePoint, but as I said, you can move between a whole bunch of them. And then finally, my favorite, which is the search function up the top here. And this is actually a shortcut on your keyboard. So if I hit the / on my keyboard or my question mark, it'll pop me straight into that search. And let's say I want to look for Michael's Engineering because that's who I was doing it. It's actually the Taylor group. I'm going to do the Taylor group so I can see the whole group together. I click on the group and now I've filtered all of the tools inside AccountKit just to see those related entities as part of the Taylor group. So if I want to go in and I want to see correspondence register, file notes, emails, things like that I've saved down. If I wanted to jump into their workflow and check those items that I've just associated those records to, I can see all of this through here working in a dashboard that's specific to that client. Really, really cool. We'll come back to workflow shortly and I'll show you all of the steps there. But let's just talk about clients and how we can manage this page really handily. And this is going to play really nicely into adding Veronica as a new client that we want to drop into the system. So AccountKit two-way synchronizes with your platforms. So if I've got XPM connected, as you see here, any client where I see this icon down the right-hand side tells me that they are connected and synchronizing data between the two systems. What that means is I can come up to the plus icon up here and add a new client into my AccountKit database. So we're going to add Veronica here. And what that will do is synchronize that straight down to XPM as I do it. So it creates it in Xero for you as you create it inside AccountKit, updating all of the records as we see fit. Now you can go through and add in all of the details that you receive from your client, phone number, mobile, email address, all of that will synchronize down. We hit create. Oh, I'll just change her, maybe her last name is Clark. Here we go. Right, hit confirm. And that allows it to then create your client page in here where you can start entering all of your details, relationships and records and connecting up all of your files, folders and the different tools that you might be using. So for example, I've got an integration here with SharePoint that I want to set up. Now, normally what you'd do in your documents folder is you'd go in and you'd create the file so it all connects up and it works really nicely. The beauty of doing it all in AccountKit is we can do the whole lot at once. So Veronica's part of the Taylor group here. I'm going to jump in and add Veronica's folder. So Clark, Veronica. And then I've also got a template folder set up in here, and this is creating it in SharePoint at the same time. So I can go in and say folder structure, brand new client, insert, and what do you know, it's created all of my folders and files inside SharePoint and inside AccountKit at the same time. I can
just a little comment on that from my side. I've actually gone one step further back than that and put placeholders in there so that it'll actually create the entire folder with the structure underneath of it for the client. So you can even take it back further and use placeholders as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So any of the brackets, for example, for placeholders, these years are placeholders is a really good example. So if I created this structure in 5 years' time, it's going to start from 2030 onwards, not 2024 onwards, which is really cool. I then set that as the default folder. And now every single time I come in to Veronica, it's going to drop me straight into her folder that I've now just created in the system. And what I've done there is I've driven or set up all of the elements that then integrate into the various systems. Now you'll see up on the top right here, I have a number of other records, and these also partially synchronized to XPM, but you can also customize these as well. And Michelle will be very familiar with this, with some work that's been going on in there. Now, partner and manager field, that will synchronize with XPM. However, you don't need XPM to use them. Let's just say for Veronica's sake, it's me, it'll be Ben as the partner, me as the manager. Okay, and then I go down and I basically say, hi, Veronica, what work do we need to do for you? Well, they're on activity statements and they're monthly, and the person who's going to do that is Fernanda. And I also do payroll work on a weekly basis, and that one is actually Julia, who we added to our email before. And by selecting all of this, all of your workflow, which I will step through shortly, is creating automatically as you onboard the client. So now this system has gone, excellent, I need a monthly BAS template to create for the client. Bang, there it is, and it's your work starts creating from that point forward that you add the new client in. We can then use tags to refine that down. So we can come down here and we can say, all right, they're payroll weekly, but what day of the week are they? They're actually on a Thursday. So we're going to tag them as a payroll Thursday client so that it's coming in on the correct day of the week. We hit save, and now Veronica's all set up and the data has synchronized across the various platforms that I'm using there for Veronica, which is great. Now let's see what the workflow looks like. So we'll go under administration over on the left-hand side, click on workflow. And before I dig into all of my jobs, this is just my all screen where I'm seeing everything. I'm going to jump across to templates because I think it's good to get a context of how all of this works together before we then start to build out how the framework continues on from there. So what we've done inside AccountKit, being that where Paul, our founder, also runs a practice down in South Australia, but also we're ex-accountants here as well too, so we've done a fair bit of it before. If you're in the templates page here, you can hit the plus icon up the top from AccountKit library, and we've actually set up a whole bunch of workflow templates and job templates for you. And it's not just oh yes, we've got a naming convention. If I select business activity statement, for example, we've actually done all of the checklisting process and the steps to proceed through that job on the screen as you see it. So if I import this one in, I can then click into my library of workflow templates that I've got. And now I can use what AccountKit has already built to customize it to the way that my business does the work. And this becomes your procedure manual for new staff that might join or for following the steps in the process. If you ever get audited, things like that, you have an ongoing record of the checklist items that you work through for each job that then creates for BAS work. Now, one of the coolest things about AccountKit is when you do create these jobs and they repeat on a regular basis, which we'll step into first, most templates are going to get you 90% of the way there for your clients. But you've always got those little tricky ones that have got, payroll tax or something unique that you need to consider. Maybe you've got to log into their bank using one of the old bank key fob things to get in, and the details on where that is unique to them. That's fine. As soon as this template generates for that client, you can add unique steps just to that client that will then create every single month for their monthly BAS that we might be setting up for them. And I'll show you how to do that shortly. But let's say this is a monthly BAS. So what I'm going to do, back to our placeholders here, we're just going to call it month short. So we'll get rid of our placeholder there that we don't need. So if I created it today, it's going to be the 2026-27 January BAS. And I'm actually going to remove the fin year plus because I like it nice and tidy as we see here. What I then do is I come down to repeat, and this is going to be my monthly BAS. So let's call it monthly. We select our filter criteria, and I want to grab every single client in my database that's on an activity statement monthly, which we saw before when we created it for Veronica. We preview, and this provides us with a list of all of those. And what do you know? There's Veronica there as well too. The beauty of this is once I've set this up, any new clients that I then add on to that monthly activity statement, their jobs create automatically. So I don't have to come back in here and reset any repeats or filters. This will just pick up any new clients that fill that criteria going forward. I then select who should be doing the work, and I could just select activity statement here, and it's going to grab the staff member associated to that client in the job to then create the activity statement and assign it off to that staff member to do. Creates once every month. We want it to come in on the last day of the month, ready for the first day thereafter. So if I was to set up my monthly BAS here to run from the 21st, it's going to create on the 31st, okay? But my start date is not until the next day, so after occurrence. And my due date for monthly BAS is always the 21st, so I'm going to move it to 20 days after the start date, and we create. Now this then runs and creates my monthly BASs automatically for me. The beauty of this...
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I was just going to say one thing I've done there, and I don't know whether this is AccountKit practice, but just I know other bookkeepers might have this problem as well. Because I get stuff during the month for the next BAS, I have that set to like 2 or 3 in advance so that I've got the next 3 months BASs already created in the system so that as it's rolling, there's basically always 3 in advance.
Yeah. Perfect point. And that's the flexibility of it is too. You can have it appear early if you want to. You can do it in advance if you want to. You can even run all 12 going forward and then have it generate from that point forward too. And the cool part about that, just to reiterate on that, is as jobs start to generate, and let's go ahead and look at our Michael's Engineering example here. Do a quick search. Is I've got BAS jobs creating for Michael's Engineering here. I can jump into this job. And then from this page, I can then start ticking off all of the elements that I'm doing, and I can add status or carry forward notes that then carry forward to the next BAS. So things that I might need to consider for the point forward. I can also add commentary to each one of those checklist items. So prepare summary email template. I'll just go edited template as it needed it. Okay, so this is your way to do communications internally with the team on comments and sections. But then if I'm a junior staff member or I just want to check on how to do a particular step, I can click on the little eye icon and there's all of my procedures running down the right-hand side as well too. So my staff can follow those procedures as they go and there's no ambiguity around what needs to be done. If this client has a unique step to them, let's just say payroll tax consideration. And I enter this one here. So long as I tick on this little recycling logo, that step will then repeat every month going forward on their BASs just for this client. So I don't have to go and reinvent the template wheel. You've always got those clients with a little bit of curly work here, and you can even add in some instructions into that too for the next staff member that might pick it up because you might have won lotto last week and now you're not coming back to work, you know, the important stuff. Now the cool part to this...
Did you want to touch on tasks as well if you're not doing that and actually the stoppages and stuff?
Yeah. So that was the next step here, whereas if I go through and I'm doing checklist items, what you'll generally do is you'll come down to certain steps that are considered milestone steps. Now I've got a manager review step in here and you'll see this is a little square. You can set this up in your template, but in this case, you can also edit and change any one of these if you're a super admin in the system. What this does is it creates a milestone, which manager review is a really good example of this, and this will actually appear on Ben's work list as well. So checklist items are just tick, tick, tick down the page as we go. But if I set a milestone so a manager knows that they've got a review coming up or there's a certain part of the work that one staff member always does, maybe you've got an offshore team that's also picking up an element or a group of the work, you can create these milestone steps. And then those steps can then have checklist items within them. So you can click in and go as part of the manager review sheet insert and checklist of reconciliations. All right. So each one of these items can then have their own embedded steps and checklist items too. And one new thing, which Michelle hasn't seen yet, but I'll show you here, is we've now added in these little progress bars. So you don't need to click into the subtask now as we see it here, or the milestone step. You can actually see how far either through a group or through a subtask your staff member might be on completing the work that sits in there. The other cool thing we can do too is, let's say at this first step here where we're going to start the reconciliation or processing progress, we can come in here and we can assign it, we can link a document. And the beauty of this system here is I'm dropped into Taylor's Engineering straight away. We're working in 2026 and the BAS. I might have a worksheet that I want to use. So I'm going to go up here and hit the plus icon, grab a document, and what do you know? I've got a worksheet final document to insert, which you can use placeholders here, which you'll see that it's renamed the document automatically for me to bring it in. So now I've got a copy of that Excel linked directly to the work that I'm doing in the system as well too, regardless of which system you might be using, which is super cool. Each one of these items can have due dates and priority set to them. So manager review might have a little bit higher priority because we need to get it done. And although this is due on the 20th of the month, I may want to give until the 19th for Ben to then look at it and get that manager review out. So I've got 2 days to then complete and finalize and send out to the client, which is super cool.
Just super quick on those links as well. You can actually link Zoom, like Looms in there as well if you record Looms. And I think you can link them out the side as well, can't you, in the instructions?
You sure can. So on this view here, we can link web addresses, which is Loom videos, or maybe you screen record something you do. And then in the instructions themselves, and this is particularly important when you build your templates here, I'll get rid of my filter up the top, you can actually embed the steps that you would like in the instructions. So you'll see here, initial discovery meeting, I've got a link to client map, and that will take me out to the client maps page so I can do it as part of the discovery meeting, getting an idea of what might be going on. All it is a matter of is selecting the text that you want to hyperlink to, click the insert link, and the very cool thing about AccountKit is we have another tool in this system, Knowledge Center, which is where you can store all of your internal policies and procedures. And what do you know? You can hyperlink these items and link them straight into your workflow. So all of your procedures and policies can all be stored in here, and you can hyperlink staff directly within AccountKit to those records. So if you need to elaborate on any line or step, you can absolutely do that, which is super cool. All right, we'll jump back into that job now. And what I'll do here is I'll show you one of my favorite features, which would have made my life much easier back when I was in practice, is the collaboration tool. So where you've got multiple staff working on jobs and you've got some backwards and forwards, quite often in the olden days, you might want to check on things and just drop a note into someone. What I can do in the collaboration tool here is I can say @Ben. As you'll see, I'm going to keep picking on Ben here. Check rec on GST, and I can notify Ben on the various tools that I have connected. So I can send him a Teams message, I can send him an email, I can notify him in AccountKit. He'll get a little box icon that he can click on, and it'll drop him straight into the job here to then review it there. So I'm going to pester Ben because he'll get a note on that one straight away. And then once he comes in, he can complete it or mark it off, and it'll move into your resolved page here so that you've got a list of resolved steps that have been completed as part of your review process. Now we have some other areas. Down the left-hand side, you have the ability to get to your client folders, which we see here. Any links to external records, and what do you know, there's that email that I just saved down previously, one I prepared earlier, as we saw. Any related tasks or items that are in there for the group, so other BAS jobs that I've got open at the moment, I can get to those on a quick link here by clicking down here. And then the best part for the managers or the partners of the business, your full audit trail of anything that staff have done within each of the steps and items. So this will load up more and more data as you scroll, giving you a full view as to what steps have been taken, what work has been completed in the system there as well. Now that's all well and good. We've got all of this wonderful work appearing here. How do I make it manageable to see what I've got on during the day? Along the top under workflow, I want to see just my BAS. So I've created my own BAS whip list. And if I get rid of the filter here, we should see a few more BAS jobs that appear on this screen. I'll see here I've got a job that's not assigned. I need to give that to someone. I'll just go ahead and grab my little 6 dots over on the left and grab and pull that over to one person. Oh, it's not letting me do it. There we go. We'll do it the old-fashioned way. Select, bulk select, and you can move those items in bulk. So a really good example with my lotto advice before. Let's say Benjamin here is going on leave, and I need to give all of Benjamin's work to someone else. As an administrator in here, I can select all in bulk, and I'm going to unselect this one here. And I can bulk change any record or status on that job. So I can go ahead and I can say, actually, I need it to, rather than be Benjamin, I want it to go to Chris Judson and move it across. Update, and it'll bulk update those records in the system here. I'll show you what that looks like as we move it across. And the beauty of that is, as you always will have, people do all sorts of things. They go on maternity leave, they might decide to go on holiday for 2 weeks, whatever it may be. You want to have that flexibility to update records in bulk, and you can do that via this tool here. So that'll update the 14 records. And as soon as I refresh this screen here, the BAS whip screen, you'll see that these items from Benjamin have moved across to Chris, which is very cool. Now, with these dashboards, you can create any mixture or type that you would like. So on the all screen here, when we come to all, we can see absolutely everything that we have on the run. So what I might do is I'll just minimize my screen because I think Teams is having a moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's running a bit slow.
Yeah, I see the camera's chugging. So that normally tells me that Teams is also having a moment here as well. So we'll just do a refresh. Here we go. Nothing like a few technical hitches in the middle of a presentation, as we do.
It wouldn't be a live tech demo without them.
Exactly. That's exactly right. So my kids are obviously on Netflix or something out in the room behind me. That's clearly it. Yep. On the highest definition possible as well too, of course. So what we then do there is once workflow loads up here, you then start to link all of your other tools into workflow. So I'll jump back into BAS whip so we can see that data here. Just let me know you can see that screen now. Perfect. So you'll see all of my work has moved across to Chris, which is great from Benjamin. Easy done. But then I want to quickly slice and dice this information. So over on the right here, show me all of them via priority rather than the person that they're assigned to. Maybe show them by partner, by manager. Maybe I want to see them in a timeline view. So I'm going to jump up here, timeline, and hit apply. And now I can see work as it's timelined out to each staff member. And then I can see one up here that's not been assigned to someone. So I can go in and I'm going to drag and drop and move that onto someone's timeline for work that needs to be done in January. The cool part about this is any of these views, you can customize and save them as set dashboards so that you can have set lists of all of the things that you find important. For me, it's a review list, so I can see anything that's coming up in the system all in one place. All right.
Do you want a super quick touch on that review and like manager review and complete like the task list options there?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we do come into a job like this, you can interact with anything that you would normally on this front screen here where you're checklisting items and you're completing those steps off. What you can also do too is from this front screen, particularly the list view is good for this, you can update statuses to move the work through each of the steps. So if I've completed the manager review step, I can finalize and send. And if I have a different staff member who takes over that step, I can move it over to them at that point in time. I can add extra steps or queries or commentary on this list here as well. And then when I'm ready to send an item out, well, I don't want to have to go anywhere. I'm just going to go across to client documents here. I've got some documents here set for Bull Antics as an example. Let's jump into 2024, set of financials that I want to send out, tick, and I send off for e-signing directly through this window as well too. So I never need to leave the platform. I can do it all through AccountKit and shoot it off to my e-signing component there as well as you're going through and completing the items.
And one little trick I learned is you can actually select different compliance checklists there. So that had a lot of it, obviously, because it's a BAS, but you can just have open closed as well if you've got things that are a bit more simple. So often I've got some of my team doing bookkeeping, for example, and they've just got it open or for review or closed, and that's the entirety of the workflow.
Yeah, everything is completely customizable. So you'll see here I've got compliance. I could just make it simple, which is just in and out. It's open and then it's closed, which might just be a an invoice job or you process payroll on a Tuesday for the client. It's just an in and out job there. So all of this is customizable, and reporting off it will suit you as you need to there. And then finally, the last component on the workflow screen before I show you a few of the tools that then make your life easier day to day and loop into workflow, is on here we have our ability to drop into our daily plan or our task planner and to our projects. So if I wanted to drop this into a job on my plan, I hit the little icon here, and then at any point in time in the system, I can open up my task planner and I have a list of all of my jobs over on the right hand side and the projects that I'm working on this screen here. And I might come in first thing on the Wednesday and go, all right, for the first hour, I'm going to do this job here for Bull Antics. The next one, I really need to get that job done for Crazy Bull. And then I've got that one from Michael's engineering that just came in. I finally got the information I need. So there's my BAS there, and I'm going to start to plan my day out. And what that means is no matter what I'm doing in AccountKit, I can always jump into a different screen here. Let's say I jump into correspondence to see my emails. I can open up my daily plan and get straight to the views or work that I might be doing in here without losing where I'm up to behind the screen, which is super cool.
That post to XPM is a very interesting one to quickly show them too.
Yeah, absolutely. Final item there. So you can do this in the job, or you can do this from this screen here. If you're doing your timesheets in XPM, perfect. We can post those timesheets down to XPM for you as well too. And you'll note here too, because I've selected it on the task planner, it's actually pre-filled my start and end times based on the allocation that I've dropped into my calendar. In my notes, so notes for work I did, and then I can select where I want it to go, which might be the activity statement that I'm working on, and post time to XPM. And away it goes from there. So again, we don't want you to have to get up out of the seat and sign into a different platform. You just do it all inside AccountKit. Easy peasy. All right. Any questions on the Q&A before I move to the next section there, Michelle? No, all good. That generally means one of two things. I'm doing a good job of explaining it, or everyone's completely lost and we have no idea what's going on. We'll see which one it is by the end.
The only question I did have from earlier was Chris was asking whether MyOb is sort of planned at all. Because I know it's definitely not in there at the moment, but...
Yeah, the plan is to eventually have Xero, QuickBooks and MYOB. QuickBooks is next just because it's easier to integrate to, and the volume is higher for many of the areas that we service actually. MYOB will then follow suit thereafter. Unfortunately, there's a few APIs for some of the tools that I'm about to showcase that are quite difficult to loop into, which I'm sure you'll see once I show you some of the cool functionality in the likes of inter-entities and equipment finance and things like that. So
MyOb might never have the full functionality, or it will be a long way off before it does.
Yeah, but so we'll probably
all of this stuff is without MyOb.
That's exactly right. So anything we do for MYOB, we will probably have to build some quite custom stuff to get it to do what we do with the other tools. But for QuickBooks and Xero, the experience should be almost identical between the two systems. So that's talking as someone who worked for MYOB for 5 years, a little tidbit there as well. In the consulting side, in the MYOB framework, your MYOB Business Online is actually a skin over the top of AccountWrite hosted elsewhere. So for those who weren't aware of how MYOB works, which means all of the APIs are still all of the old AccountWrite APIs.
Yeah, Chris just said typical MYOB, make it harder for themselves.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I could talk for another whole, 2 episodes on this, on the MYOB stuff. So I love them as a company. They were wonderful to work for, but yes, they do make things difficult for themselves. That's for sure. All right. Now, as we saw before on emails, I'm just going to touch on correspondence very briefly here. We did everything in our email before I was in Gmail, but you can do it in Outlook as well. From the correspondence register inside AccountKit, you can also do all of the same from within here as well. So if you're working on a client and you want to send an email out, record a phone message, drop a file note, because this is connected directly to your inbox, you can do all of those functions within here as well. So if I'm taking a phone message, or you've got a team member taking a phone message, select who the contact is, relating to which client and who they are calling for. Ben, we're going to be a nuisance to again. and it'll automatically, based on my settings, notify Ben in the different areas for the tools that I've got connected. What that does is it sends Ben a notice to say that Ashley called for him. He can click on the button and it drops him straight into a phone message recording screen where he can go through and add in his notes and details around what he spoke about with that client. So doesn't have to create or reinvent the wheel.
Selfish question about this one. How much longer for the mail merge?
Yeah, so we brought the account reconciler forward on also a Michelle request last year, just FYI for everyone. No, we had planned to get it out by the end of last year, but we've decided to do some refinements on account reconciler, which I'm about to show. So stay tuned. It's around the corner. It's one of the next cabs off the ranks for the start of the year. So very excited.
And the Q1, you reckon, or like Q1 20?
Yeah, I think that's where we'll target for it. Absolutely. If not, it'll be in a beta. But as you know, with our betas, we release them to everyone, so you can jump in and start playing with them straight away. And we're pretty comfortable with functionality even in a beta phase when we do release them out there to play with. Easy done.
Like I said, that's a completely selfish question.
No, that's perfectly fine. Keep them coming. If there's anything, as Michelle will probably attest, give us feedback. These guys are wizards. I don't know how they develop as fast as they do, but you'll obviously see quite a bit in AccountKit already. But super open to feedback, super open to building really cool stuff in the platform, which is great. And talking about cool stuff in the platform, let's start to talk about some of the benefits of having your Zero Blue files connected in the system, not just the XPM and all of the other periphery that's tied in there too. So, Account Reconciler. This is your ability to connect up a Zero Blue file and start to do your periodic reviews, whether it be bookkeeping work, whether it be payroll or BAS reviews that you might be doing for clients. By connecting up their Zero file in here, you can go ahead and do a full electronic reconciliation of the Zero file. From every single tool we're going to be using here, you'll see this little plus icon up the top. That allows me to drop into the creation or form creation page, in which case I can then select any of the clients where I've got my Zero Blue file connected on them, let's say Bull Investments. I then select how often I want to reconcile this one as the default. So I can do monthly, quarterly, annually, financial year, and the last time that this account was reconciled. And once I'm happy with that, I hit create. What will then happen is you'll have something connected similar to this, and you'll have the ability to then select which accounts you want to reconcile on a regular basis for this client. And you can pick and choose of those accounts that are selected, how often you like to reconcile them as well. So for example, prepaid income here, I'm only doing on a quarterly basis, whereas everything else I'm doing on a monthly basis. So I can pick and choose how they appear. Choosing which ones you want are just a simple toggle on. And most people I speak with that are using this are going to do most of the balance sheet for review and handful of P&L, if not all of the balance sheet as you go ahead and do it. We then bring those accounts in. They do want to reconcile, and you'll see here that it'll give you reconciliation periods and show you what your statuses are on there. You'll see that I've got quite a bit of work done, but to do, but I've got 2 that are reconciled. So, I'm halfway there. I'm getting there. Method, I can either do clearing or balance. So clearing is where you've got, let's say, 28 June, you've got a $3,000 amount that doesn't clear until July. Any of those clearing accounts or things that you might be using to review data. And then frequency is obviously how often we're there. So you'll see that this will update in the schedule over to the right based on the frequency selected. We then jump into wages payable, and let's have a look. So one of the cool things about the AccountKit sync is we bring in absolutely everything, so you can do some of the cool stuff that you're going to see with the tools that we'll showcase here. And what that means is select, reconcile. I can shortcut these, so I can press R to reconcile, I can press A to select all, I can press C to clear all. So very similar to those who are fans of your MYOB Alt shortcuts, which I used to use. I never used to touch a mouse when I used MYOB. A lot of those elements we're building into these tools here as we do it. And S will also show reconciled as well, if there are any reconciled on the screen there for you too.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong as well. That select all only selects what it believes reconciles. Is that correct? Or will it actually select everything?
It will select only what it believes reconciles. Correct. Yep. So as we see here, if I go in and I go to select all, which is A, it's going to grab everything, and obviously my verified balance is 0, so it's happy, and it's, you know, happy days down the bottom here. Now, let's say I did need to post a journal, or I did want to verify that balance with a report or an attachment or something similar. I can come in here and go reconciles to end of period, see report, for example. I then move across to my verified balance. I put in 0, which should be correct. However, if I did want to post a journal because it's a clearing account or something similar, I can go ahead and post that journal by entering an amount in the verified and post those journals straight down to the 0 file as well, adding in the verified description into that data that drops down. I hit the little link icon, and as we did before, we can go in and we can grab a link document that we want to do. Let's say pretend this is my report that verifies that balance that I've got from 0, or I've, you know, received the attachments that I did from my client before. And then I've also got my history to see whatever anyone has done as they've gone through and reconciled these elements. We can move between reconciliation and ledger, so we can see what's been done previously and where we're moving to. Okay, so you can toggle between each of those across the top. And then once you're happy with it all, we come down to the bottom here, we hit print, and then we can print out our work paper that associates and shows you all of your wonderful reconciliation work. And because I didn't reconcile, you'll see here it's gone, well, you haven't verified the balance, you're out. Here's your opening balance, transactions, and unreconciled transactions in here as well. So keeping an ongoing record of everything you ever do on a 0 file in this space. Now, as you will see with this little icon over on the left, this is our first iteration of Account Reconciler. It is pretty feature rich already, but we are looking to do some really cool stuff in this space later down the track. And we'll share that at a future event, I'm sure. Michelle knows a few of the details on those ones, but we are receiving feedback from anyone who's currently using this as well around some of the cool things that you'd like to see to start reconciling transactions in your 0 files there.
And just another super quick note, you can link these to the workflows as well.
Sure can. Yeah, that's the coolest part. Any one of the tools, emails, areas, clients, if you've got them open, you'll see universal icons down the bottom here. Link it off to workflow, link documents, tags, all of the different things that you want to add in as you do with anything else. You can add them in here as well. Very cool. Now, one thing that goes hand in hand with reconciling one 0 file is reconciling 2 0 files. For anyone who's ever tried to reconcile 2 0 files side by side, I think pulling eyes is about as close to as enjoyable as having 2 0 files open and trying to compare to them at the same time. So what we decided to do, rather than do all the incognito and all that sort of stuff like we've done before, or, you know, an Excel sheet side by side and highlighting lines, we allow you to connect up 2 0 files for 2 different entities and compare any accounts other than bank accounts or locked accounts side by side in the system. So even though it says inter-entity loan, you can use this to do management fees between entities, loan movements between entities, all sorts of stuff. Very simply, again, universal functionality. We hit the plus icon up the top here. We select our client on one side that we want to compare to our client on the other. And then we hit continue and we select which accounts we want to compare to. And generally you're going to go loan to loan, either side of the aisle. And as with any good demonstration, we've got one I prepared earlier here, which is your ability to see transactions side by side. But to show you which accounts I've selected, I've got the loan in the trading entity, which is my Bull Antics. I've got the loan to the trust. And inside the trust, I've got all of the equity accounts that I've got all of the movements moving to. And as you can see here, you can do 3 accounts to 1, you can do 5 accounts to 5 accounts, pick as many as you like and compare side by side. And as long as they're all part of a family group, you can have any related entity and any number of accounts, comparisons across the top, and move between each of them and reconcile period to period that you need to. So how does it work? We select a transaction on one side, we select a transaction on the other, and we tick them off. Wouldn't be real fun if we had to do that, 1,000 times. So we hit the lightning bolt in the middle, very similar to our select all in the account reconciler. It's going to go ahead and grab everything that it believes matches on either side of the aisle using the date, the amount and the description as identifiers for that. Once it's happy that it's grabbed everything, you can do a little spot check if you want to. There's quite a few that this one's selected here. Hit the tick in the middle. Bob's your uncle, we've reconciled everything else. Now, what generally happens is you've got a bucket entity on one side, and which is your trading entity, sorry, and then your bucket entity on the other, which hasn't got any of the movements because you haven't done them yet. It's part of the bookkeeping process. So I want to go ahead and move those transactions from one side to the other. Now, there's two trains of thought here. One is I want to just grab everything and bulk code it straight across, which is my orange icon here, and I can group it all together and select which account it's going to go to if they're like-for-like transactions. That's one way to do it. My preferred method, though, is let's go ahead and grab all of those transactions that are the same, and I'm going to grab all of the PAYG paid by the company on behalf of the trust, select all of those transactions in bulk, hit the blue icon in the middle, and now I'm just going to code the first one and copy that coding to every single journal. So we'll go ahead and we'll say, all right, I want all of these to go to PAYG. And then, yes, please, AccountKit, copy that for all of these 13 transactions. I'm not going to go and journal every single one. I could if I wanted to. I could select which accounts each one goes to, hit post, and it moves all 13 journals from one entity to the other at the same dates that they were entered into the trading entity as well. Absolute game changer. I had a 26 entity business that I used to work for, and it was about a week and a half process to do all of the movements. This would have taken me half a day if I had this at my time in practice. I'm a little bit too old, unfortunately. But the power of it is really just that ability to see everything on the go and reconcile and review side by side. If you ever want to come back and yeah.
Matt's flashing over those. You'll see that blue icon come up for the zero. That means you can actually click on it and go straight to that zero file as well.
Absolutely, straight to the transaction. And in the transaction, it'll say, take me back to AccountKit as well, which is super cool. So you can move between the two side by side. Again, two-way sync between each of the systems. If you want to see anything that you've reconciled previously, we hit the little eyeball in the middle. And what do you know? We've got all of those side by side. And you go, actually, which one did this reconcile to? I click it and it highlights the one on the other side. So you can see the history of which ones you've done. And then hovering over the little clock, again, universal icons across the whole system. This was reconciled by me. I just forgot that I did it because I do that when I'm working late most nights. Easy done. Now, the first question I always get here is what happens if my client changes something? Because that never happens. Of course, we also flag that in the system as well too. So it'll come up with these wonderful red icons, which look a bit scary, but the beauty of it is we can go in and we can do exactly what I did on that last screen, and it tells me which transactions are associated. Hover over the little eye icon, transaction in the other entity has been modified, transaction voided in zero. So I can launch straight in and check or verify that that actually has been voided. And I'm actually going to do that now for you. Here's the live demo approach that we love and enjoy. Bit disappointed that this hasn't loaded me in straight away with my credentials, but let's see if I know it off by heart. Did I get the password right? Oh, he's jagged it. Look at that. Last pass. Come at me. All right. Log into Xero.
Generally, you'd be logged in and this wouldn't take this long.
Exactly. I'd already have it done and I wouldn't have to go and do all of this, but I can see it in AccountKit anyway, right? So I'm really only going in here if I'm looking for a mistake, my clients bug it up, which, yeah, as we know, happens every day, unfortunately. So there we go. We can see that it was voided, and we can also see the history to see what did void it. And then if I want to go back to AccountKit, I click on the go back to AccountKit, and it drops me straight back into the system where I was at, so I can continue on with what I was doing, which is easy peasy. So you'll see up here, it gives you an identifier for what tool you're in, inter-entity loan, and the code for the report that we're in there as well too. So easy peasy. Now, the cool part about this is we then do create a summary loan matrix for all of those movements across related entities. So if you've got, 5 entities that are associated to one, You could have them all appear here, and you can even toggle on those that don't have any movement, so you can see a full matrix of the family group side by side. If I untoggle this and I click into my item here, oh, I've got one loan that balances. That's always a start. But this will go ahead and show you which ones still need work. And then clicking on any one of those will take you straight into the one that you need to work with, which is, again, cyclical, making it easy to get to things, and link it off to workflow if you want to as well. So add it, link it, create it, do all of those cool things that you did before, and even collaborate or add review notes. And on any of the compliance tools, you can pop the collaboration up on the right-hand side here as well. So you can have your review notes open while you're going through and doing all of your reconciling, which is super cool. All right, last but not least, I do want to grab one more tool here, which is just equipment finance for those who do use equipment finance on a regular basis. We want to automate a lot of the steps as we did before with Interentity. The posting is something you can do while you're working on it. What we also wanted to do with a number of the other tools like amortization schedule for prepaid income, prepaid expense, equipment finance, and fuel tax credits, we want to have you able to do a lot of your posting or set and forget at the beginning of the schedule. So if I've got a new vehicle my client's purchased and they've got it on finance, I hit the plus icon up the top here, select the client that I'm dropping it in for. So we'll do Bullantics here, synchronize with Xero. Now I can tick here whether it's an existing agreement, which allows me to add it in for ones that I might have done on Excel for the first 2 years, and then AccountKit's going to take over from here. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it unticked. Let's say that a Mazda 3 was bought, all right, and registration number, contract, those sorts of things, all the good stuff. We hit continue, and it drops us in to do both our purchase. All right, so we'll go in and we'll say Mazda was bought. We'll go to $25,000 for the vehicle, goes to motor vehicle because we're connected directly to Xero, so we can see that data flowing in here. Brings in my tax type, but we also bring in your tracking categories too. So we synchronize absolutely everything. And if you don't have an account set up yet because you're a brand new client, that's perfectly fine. You can add a new account on the fly straight into the Xero file without having to go in, which is super cool. And then we'll go in, we'll also add the borrowing cost in here as well too. So borrowing costs, Mazda, 2,500. And again, we can select our account that this associates to. So borrowing, whoop, helps if we can type. I've got just a borrowing cost account here. Let's just use this one as a placeholder for now. Pre-fills all of our data. I then come down to my finance details. We'll say it's Mazda Finance, so you know they're going to get burned by the interest rate. 10th of the 7th, 2023 was the contract date, and 16th of the 7th, 2023 was first payment. Frequency, monthly, over 60 periods, and we can even add in our balloon and amounts. So we'll say it was $650 per month. Calculates the interest and all of the components there for us as well. And then I just tell the system where I want this to post all of my journals to. So I don't have to go in and do a bulk journal to bring all this in or reconcile each period. I build my schedule. I set it to auto post my purchase. And then over time, this will post month on month for every single HP and interest component as time goes on. What you may want to do though is, let's say I've done this and obviously I've gone back to 2023 in purpose here. I want to do up to the end of 2025. Cool. I'll hit the little paper airplane to selected payment date, confirm, and it's going to bulk post all of my journals there for me for the schedule as well. Set and forget, let the system do it. And the best part here, which is why I picked some really fuddy-duddy accounts, is it's going to test your balances to see whether you're reconciled or not. And you can click straight into it and you can see all of the movements that might be there, period to period. So you can start to see what's going on in the Xero file if there's any issues. So it looks like a major event occurred somewhere back here. That's going to tell me what may have occurred. There you go. Someone's gone in and put a financed amount that shouldn't be in there. That should be in the purchase side or something similar. Okay, so it's giving you that reconciling component. And then on our list screen here, we have all of our out of balance review for us. on the front end.
Just quickly on that too, I know some QBCC people will need current and non-current. So you can choose to do current, non-current. You can also choose to do expired, unexpired, interest included or not on the actual balance sheet if you don't want to show the interest until it's accrued. So they're all options that we've used in the past as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the practice settings of the tool, you can set how most of yours will work. And then on each schedule, you can customize. So long as you haven't posted the journals yet already, you can toggle these on and go, all right, select the other accounts that need to split these out as well too. And your borrowing costs, prepaid income, prepaid expense gets done through your amortization scheduler. And where you've started doing all of this creation in the system, we can then start to run things like cash flow reports for our clients. So we can say, all right, Mr. Bullantics, let's not buy that new ute just yet. Because if I have a look at where you're going, as of May, your payments move up from 11 to 16. Can you actually cover that? Let's not get too hasty about the next purchase that you're going to drop in, because we start to amalgamate all of that data into universal reports for each of your clients. Now, there's probably about 4 hours more stuff I could show you at AccountKit, but I know we're just over time there. Any final questions before we wrap up for today?
Chris said that she thinks she recognises your face from past MyOb events.
Ah, there you go. So
she thought you looked familiar, and that makes sense.
I used to do the insight shows and those sorts of things. So if you've ever been to the partner showcases, and yeah, you've probably seen me floating around a little bit, doing a bit of prezzo on stage. So great.
He's always at Xerocon too, usually. So
yep.
Probably seen him floating around there as well.
I float everywhere. Yeah.
And Anne says that fantastic. Thank you so much for the tour. And like Matt said, it is a whistle stop tour, because I know that there's a lot more. Even I've learned some stuff today that I didn't know, but there's also heaps more that could be dived into, and yeah, lots more to dig into if you want to as well. I'm sure Matt would be happy to do personal demos or arrange personal demos or help out with demos and stuff if anyone else is interested in chatting about it.
Yeah, absolutely. The easiest way to kick things off, and I might do it just quickly while I'm here, jump on the website. So just account-kit. Jump in here. You can start your own free trial if you like. When you start a free trial, Ben, my colleague, offsider, he will get a notification that you've kicked off. And if you want to just drop in there and just say, hey, when you chat to Ben, just say, yep, I listened to Matt's prezzo. If you want to take a look at it, most welcome to. And if you've got certain requirements or unique circumstances to your clients, the way they work, flexibility is key in AccountKit. There is so many different ways that you can make this system work for the way that you do workflow. We have a giant virtual reception client that we do work for. And then we also service Grant Thornton and RSM and the likes of that. So there's no sort of middle ground that we don't touch. Just ask the question and I'm sure we can find a solution for you.
Chris said that she thinks she might need an IT degree to figure it all out, but you have lots of lovely, helpful people on site, don't you?
We do, absolutely. So one of the cool parts, we get quite good commentary. Funnily enough, the support side of AccountKit is one thing we pride ourselves on. So we have really fast turnaround on support, under 45 minutes to an hour to get a resolution for you if you've got an issue. So feel free to reach out. Any of the tools inside AccountKit, if you're in any of the pages, let's say I jump into equipment finance, help center, get help for this page. And what do you know, here's a video tutorial. You might hear my voice in a few of these as well too. How do I create a new schedule? Click on it and it'll drop you straight down to any of the areas that you need to do. So step by steps on how to do absolutely everything in the software. The help is really handy.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Does anyone else have any other questions before we let the lovely Matt get back to his day and everyone else gets back to theirs? I don't know if there's a way I can turn the volume on. Do you know if there's a way I can do that? Can I turn on?
Unfortunately, I don't, not in a webinar setting.
That's all right then.
You are most welcome to reach out to me, matthewt@account-kit.com, even just for a chat or a chinwag. Yeah, we're here to give you tools that work, not sell you something you don't need. So feel free to reach out.
And thank you everyone for coming.
Yes, thank you so much. All your time I've taken away. Good luck getting back to it, and have a safe and wonderful 2026 as we progress in.
Have a lovely one, everyone.